We take the politics away if we can. But we had, our police used to have yellow vehicles at one stage. It was yellow. So the police van, the police car, it was all yellow. And I remember when a yellow van came around a corner, black or white, it didn't matter. When that police vehicle came around the corner, no matter if you were guilty or not, you stood dead still, you shut up, and you somehow apologized just in case. There was that border of fear-respect. When a police officer got out, this was unmistakably a man of law and order. So I saw a clip of a state, I'm not too sure, of an American police chief who stood with a picture of a robber, of a criminal, whom the police shot because he fired at them. And he stood there in that town with a picture, and he said, "We didn't do enough to shoot him, to show him that if you shoot at us, you will pay the ultimate price." And then he said, "And by the way, if anybody comes into your house and attacks your family, I hereby want you to shoot them dead." And I looked at this, Gerard, and I said, at what point did this man also come in his life where he turned and said, we now are at war? And it's not about killing someone. It's not about that kind of humanity collapse. We are too late, Chris, in this country to look back and say that we can now become a service again. We can become a rerouted entity. Unfortunately, we are now at a state of domestic undeclared war. The guns they are using against us to commit domestic violence are actually guns you use at war, Chris. It's not a shotgun or a pistol. These are automatic rifles, AK-47s, our R4 and R4 rifles, and these people are engaging the civilian population with this kind of fire. Now, sorry, we will have to now get fire on fire. We'll have to clean it up. We will have to take them on. We will have to suppress them and then establish law and order. And only then, Chris, once we have drained these people from our internal swamps, suck them out and put law and order back, will we then only be able to say, okay, fine, let us now again regain trust of our civilian population. The civilian population will now tell you, fight now, defend us now, save us now. And that's what I am prepared to do every day of my life. We, if not already, have become Colombia. Chris, what happened in Colombia? I'll tell you. You had a person who was fighting another person who at the end of the day took over the drug trade, started shooting the other people in the drug trade in the streets. That's point one. Point two, what then happened was people started dying in the crossfire. Those people went to the police and said to the police, you need to protect us. So they started shooting the police. The police then went to the judiciary and said to the judges, you must protect us and send these people to jail. So they blew up judges. The judiciary then went to the government and said to the ministers and the people in the presidency, you better protect us. So they killed the ministers and annihilated, if you can recall, a person that was running and becoming president of Colombia. They murdered and assassinated him. And then when all of this failed, they ran for government themselves and became government. Sound familiar? In South Africa, if that is the barometer, Colombia, failed state, and South Africa, where are we? Well, I'll tell you where. Gangs are fighting. People are now being hurt in the crossfire. Police are being murdered at the rate of an unbelievable amount per month. We've had attacks on judges. We've attempted killings on advocates. We are sitting now where they are moving into government. And here's the problem. Can I make a statement? And I won't withdraw it. The difference in Colombia was at a certain point, government got up and did attack that criminal and killed him. The only reason why it's not happening in this country is because we don't have El Chapo. Our current people in government are the mafia. Winston Churchill, great icon in politics and a great icon of mine, said one day that if a man cannot change his mind, he cannot change the world. Chris, I was part of a regime change, and I know exactly why they closed the commandos. They closed it because in 1994, the commando system was so well established, was such a bastion of defense, that the ANC feared the commando system. No, let's be honest with you. Let's talk about the reality. The commando system, which I served in after my defense force, was a, can I call it, National Guard of South Africa. So that was the equivalent. You could call them up. And the thing was that every town, no matter the size, the commando. We shut it because of politics. We should have never shut it. Because today, you could have actually made sure that your farm attacks, your civilian defense, your inner riots, your looting capacity, your crime fighting capacity would have been boosted by having these commando units in every town. We haven't given up on it, the UIM, as you now know. We've written a policy of those civilian defense units to be created should the multi-party charter win. Should it not, we will go ahead in any case to create it because we're allowed to. The difference is it won't be under government auspices, but on a security conclave. But the fact is, that gentleman is not wrong. We miss it now. We should readdress it, like we should address a lot of things that we now realize, Chris, are wrong. I have admitted to many where we made mistakes. I think it's good that a leader can admit to where the problem lies, can admit to it, and by the way, take accountability. That's what we don't have in this country. We don't have a leadership that is willing to take accountability.
While I would keep on watching and really understanding most of the direction to which this whole election goes on May the 29th, I would just like to probably seek more to understand how the different parties are really understanding the terminology and how probably the EFF's message of One Africa might really encounter a lot of that. We can see that resistance already coming in from within. And I'm sure most of Africans, most of the black populace around the world who seem to resonate with the message of the EFF aren't really conversant with the internal resistance that the EFF seems to be experiencing and how far that would go in that regard. And one thing is for sure, there are many people who have been born and raised and whose only reality seems to be that which has been framed by their understanding of their existence within the South, the space, within the geographical space called South Africa. And to sort of like exclude them from a national consciousness and a wider African consciousness, I think, and I can already see the problems that erupt from that. And that's why many people have termed South Africa as Africa's ticking time bomb, because it's sort of like differs, is more nuanced than most of the politics going around the continent, and really deeply entrenched in its multiracial politicization of issues, and gives a really rich new flavor to African politics that differs from most that occurs in the other parts of Africa. And so I think this was a really explosive comment, a really explosive kickback to the EFF by Neil de Beer, and really interesting facts though, coming from his background being a politician, speaking about how law and order should be at the forefront of these political debates and not necessarily a sort of like a violent space, which South Africa must renege from becoming. But I don't know, what do you guys think about these thoughts? As usual, share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe, because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.